Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
When they say that change is the one true constant, they may have been talking about The Advocate. Welcome to today's edition, where I'll be getting the ball rolling by seeking to expand our horizons, literally. Chuka tackles ineffectual modes of communication by our public servants. As far as he's concerned, they might as well be speaking in tongues. Ireti takes on the law in the light of a high-profile rape allegation. She echoes the sentiment, the law is an ass. Here's where the rubber hits the road. Omoyele Sowore, that is, the famous one, that is set to talk about a revolution. Don't we know about it? We should, actually. So, Ekene, on the other hand, ensures that we round up things on a note of inspiration. She'll be spotlighting accidental heroes. Okay, so get set. It's time to set things in motion after this break. What comes to mind when you hear quality of life? I think that's the importance of social spaces. Recently, I returned from Enugu during my stay in the cold city. We had cause to inspect parks and sports facilities. I was saddened by what I saw, the absence of safe social spaces, especially for young people. As a military brat, I grew up in several cities in Nigeria, but the fondest memories of my youth was etched in Enugu, especially around leisure, the times I spent around the leisure parks in Enugu. Polo Field comes to mind. It's now a mall. Ngwo Park, Naji Park in New Haven suburb, and hikes up Milking Hill. Today, I shudder at how young people in Enugu are building memories, not around parks and leisure spaces, but around beer parlors and viewing centers. The parks I grew up hanging out and socializing with my peers then are gone, replaced by bushes, concretes, churches, hotels, and they appear as really abandoned relics of a barbaric war against civility. In Lagos, Ikoyi Park gave way to housing units. Our parks are now parked in a distant memory of a forgetful generation. More and more people now live in cities that are facing incredible challenges of failing infrastructure and economic blight. The tribulations of everyday life is hurting a lot more people, and there are no safe places to vent. Public safe spaces such as parks and other recreation grounds help to foster a more connected community and play a vital role in the social and economic life of communities. According to researchers, Mean and Teams, and I quote them, public spaces including high streets, street markets, shopping precincts, community centers, parks, playgrounds, and neighborhood spaces in residential areas play a vital role in the social life of communities. They act as a safe, organizing public service, a shared resource in which experiences and values are created, offering opportunities for children and young people to meet, play, and simply hang out. And the absence of such safe public spaces creates a vacuum for increased antisocial behavior to grow. On a positive note, what I observed in Enugu is that the state government is beginning to concession some of these spaces, now in abandoned spaces, to people, to private investors to rebuild and manage. I visited one of such places, the Ngwo Park in Uwani area, which has been renovated at cost to the investor and who must now charge to recover his investment. So the challenge is, how do we manage the process to ensure that the public benefits of such spaces are not sacrificed on the altar of profit? Governments must realize that public spaces are an important part of the social fabric, and investment in infrastructure must include public spaces that are safe, inclusive, and accessible to all.
I just want to come in straight up because the last point you made, that government must realize, I think we all must realize first, because I was trying to understand how we even arrived at this point where we are not considering public spaces, or we don't value public spaces, it looks like. Because just looking into some areas and the value of public spaces, I came across, like in Japan, they deliberately they do something like, what do they even call it? Is it desert bathing? There's some, not desert bathing, but green bathing. They go out naked and just lie in the bushes. Because they see that there's a connection between your mental and physical well-being and being able to have access to the outdoors.
In Nigeria, they will say you're village people, but go ahead.
We won't go that far. But you know, I even remember, you know, someone close to me who just enjoyed, you know, he and his brother would go up somewhere in an open space and play the guitar together. Okay. And you say, look, we're losing out somehow because these things were given to us. It's not like we even had to look for them. Yeah. But now, the more we build, the more population explodes, the more we then don't deliberately make room for outdoor time or even create those spaces in the planning. So why I said we need to value it first is we're the ones who put the pressure on government to say, look, this is what we want. This is what you must, you know, make provision for, or else, you know, who will tell government?
Okay, first of all, I think we need to realize that our powers are pretty handicapped in this country as citizens. Yeah. Tell government what? The same government that hasn't sorted out housing, electricity, shall I continue business, commerce?
They're
and
all
as
the
Emeka said, and then you want them to talk about parks?
You know, you make it sound like it's further down the line.
No, but what I'm saying is, if we say we are the ones that have to demand from government, my point there is we actually need to realize that our powers are actually not that great. In this country as citizens. It's time we face the truth.
And then what?
And well, no, it's not that. It doesn't mean it's the end. It's just that, you know, once you realize, once you accept you know, the reality, then you move onwards from there. And my thing is, what I liked about yours is how you connected the financial and social importance. And we mustn't get away from that because kuku, as they say in Yoruba, money, right? As Abba said. So the financial aspect of it and the social aspect of it must be married together, right? So the social aspect of it is our health, you know, the children, the community, the, you know, how'd you say, the growth, you know, sort of being able to play and be free, the quality of life. Now we have to think about the finance part of it, because look, people are not going to invest for the sake of it. A businessman is a businessman is a businessman. He's got to get the return on his investment. So I think what we need to demand is where we are paying taxes is they need to make it tax incentive. If you say to organizations, for instance, Mario Kola Park just behind us here, if you invite organizations to say, you know what, there's an open space, we don't really want to build a house there, you know, why don't you develop into a park, you know, brand it with your name, yada yada yada, etc., etc. For that, maybe in the next quarter, you'll get a tax break. That would work.
I'm interested to I mean, you lived in the US.
That's correct. And it's probably the reason I don't want us to take matter of rights in piecemeal. Yeah. Because without addressing this holistically, you are missing the point. I remember in 1986 or 87, about when I came to Lagos, I went to Festac Town. They had public spaces,
yes.
And the moment the military came, they allocated those spaces to themselves. Yeah. And not only is Festac no longer open, you now have walls, which are called prisons, built around those houses. Yeah. And in general, you know, when you have values collapse, you have government not really working in the interests of people. It affects everybody. I remember also coming to, you know, Nigeria, and I had to travel to Ghana one day. In Ghana, I was incentivized to go out and run because all the roads have like sidewalks, bicycle, you know, spaces. And I ran from where I was to the airport and back. But I tried to do it in Ikeja, and I was almost run down 3 times within 1 kilometer.
Yes.
Because most of the
what you're saying tells me that even in the planning as far back as then, it wasn't included. So it's not like, you know, we're saying that things have deteriorated now.
I think it was. I think it was included. It was. Like I said, I grew up around those spaces.
He's talking about spaces
every
that
other bloke or female will tell you the experience of Ikoyi Park.
You know, they have parks that were designed into towns and townships. But this greed that we're talking about took it all over. And that is why I am opposed to asking private individuals to now charge for these parks. It's the duty of government. What we should do is to ensure that if any private individual or private company is building anything in any part of the world, you say, look, we'll give you this, but you must build a park that is free for those people who will be affected.
It's pretty much the same thing as I said.
We're out of time on this topic because clearly there's a lot more we can do. And people can follow online.
Favorite topic.
I mean, Chuka, I think you you will anchor this. You probably reflect that when you next. So guys, planning is clearly essential to remap our clustered landscape. I know Chuka agrees, obviously. He will be stating categorically that Gencos, discos, megawatts all amount to no light after the break.